Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 164, our Week 3's 2-point conversation. And it's my great pleasure to welcome back to the bar, Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing tonight, Bernie?
I am doing all right. How are you this evening, Michael?
I'm very tense, and I won't know results until late tomorrow night, and I'm freaking out, man. I'm freaking out. All right.
That's what happens when all of your games end at 1 o'clock.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys. In this show, we will start off with some player news. We will go through the studs and duds for Week 3. We will also settle into a nice Week 3's 2-point conversation where we go through all the Week 3 action up to this point. And then we'll take a look at some early waiver wire targets. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingmen assemble! All right. Now that everyone is here, let's get right into it. Let's get into some news and notes. All right, starting off, we had Xavier Legette, who I wasn't sure if he was going to play or not early in the morning, but it turned out he was inactive for this Sunday's game. And it seemed like the Carolina Panthers didn't need anybody but the Falcons to get that win for the Panthers today. Juwan Jennings was also questionable, and he ended up being held out of the San Francisco game against the Arizona Cardinals, as was his teammate Brock Purdy, making way for Mac Jones to make his second consecutive start. And Jadon Blue, I should just take him off the list here, but it just keeps, it's interesting to me that this heralded rookie for the third consecutive week has been a healthy scratch, leaving those running back duties to veterans Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams, who have both been performing pretty well. All right, what do you have on these guys who did not play today? Nothing too major here. Xavier Legette, Juwan Jennings, Brock Purdy, and Jadon Blue.
Yeah, like you said, Atlanta went ahead and took care of any issues that the Carolina offense had by playing horrible football. The 49ers, though, Mac Jones and Ricky Pearsall, stepped in just fine. They played a decent game. It wasn't a bad game, wasn't a great game. And then Mr. Blue, I don't know, leave some Blue's Clues to see what's going on. I have no idea what's going on there.
All right, moving along here. I know you had some interest in this one, and it made your lineup selections a little easier. Zach Charbonnet was held out of Sunday's games against the Saints. Kinshawn Judkins, is he a star? Well, he was the bell cow today for the Cleveland Browns against the vaunted Green Bay Packer defense. Jackson Smith-Njigba had some sort of a ailment. He was sick overnight on Saturday, but he was active, and he kept his breakout season going in Sunday's game against the New Orleans Saints. Terry McLaurin left the game in the second half with a quad injury. At this point, his status for Week 4 is uncertain. What do you have on these four guys? A couple of running backs here. Zach Charbonnet did not play. Kinshawn Judkins is asserting himself. Jackson Smith-Njigba, he's just a star this year. And Terry McLaurin, one of those holdouts, doing what holdouts do, having a tough go to start the year.
Yeah, we'll start with Charbonnet on this one. It was a Seattle's game script kind of went a little funny. Their defense really stepped up and did a lot of work for them. So Ken Walker didn't really have to do too much, though he did good. I think he had a couple touchdowns. So the status is probably going to be uncertain. It's a short turnaround. I think they have a Thursday game coming up. So you play Walker. Don't worry about Charbonnet at this moment in time. Judkins, he's going to be a stud. Jackson Smith-Njigba is already a stud. I think he's first Seahawk wide receiver with 3 consecutive 100-yard games to start a season. Only had 74 yards on 4 catches. So he did pretty good before the injury. and that's a bummer if he's
All
out
right,
for
we
more
have
than
Mike Evans
more
left
than a
the
week.
game in the second half with a hamstring injury. At the moment, it's being called a tweak. Najee Harris, this didn't look good here. He left the game in the second quarter as he crumpled down with a non-contact injury, was carted off to the locker room. And I haven't heard too many specifics, but I think there's a pretty strong likelihood that this may end up being a serious injury. Once again, we have to ask the questions. Is Daniel Jones simply the best quarterback in the league? Some people like to call him Indiana Jones.
Hey, lady, you call him Dr. Jones.
All right. What do you have here with these players? We'll put one more here. Alec Pierce left the game with a concussion after laying out for a diving catch, which after review, they determined was incomplete. All right, what do you have on these injuries and or best quarterback in the league? Mike Evans left. He did get in the end zone at least. Najee Harris, this was a bad injury, I think. Daniel Jones is just awesome. And Alec Pierce does what he does, lays out for deep catches, and every once in a while gets banged up and has to leave the game.
Yeah. So let's talk the best quarterback in the league currently. And he is Daniel Jones. So I don't have anything more to say to it. He had a great run. He put his shoulder down, which he shouldn't have done because he's prone to injury, but he did it anyway. He's just a man. He's a man amongst boys sometimes, even though he dresses like a boy. But Alec Pierce, really 4 catches, 67 yards on 4 catches before the injury. So concussion, that's not going to look good, but that's going to help the other receivers and my man Taylor on that team if Pierce's time is limited. Najee Harris, probably a season-ending Achilles. Mike Evans, hopefully it's not more than a couple weeks. But
Now to some of our bigger named injuries this week. This one's hurts a little bit. CeeDee Lamb was ruled out pretty early in Sunday's matchup against the Bears, with what is being called a rolled ankle. Lamb indicated, though, after the game that he is absolutely, in quotes, feels like he will be ready to go in week 4. Don't take the player's word for it this early in the week, but that is a good sign that at least he's indicating he should be relatively okay. Colston Loveland, tight end for the Bears, finally got a little bit of action on Sunday against the Cowboys, but he was forced out of the game with a hip injury. And this one is the one I saw, and this one looked really bad. James Conner left the Sunday's game against the Niners early in the second half with what looked like a catastrophic injury to either his ankle. They say ankle injury. It looked like his knee dislocated to me. Maybe also his ankle. Maybe his the fibula down there. I felt like his leg was going the wrong direction in a lot of different ways. Pretty gruesome. Luckily, they didn't show it, so you couldn't really get a verification of what happened. But the way he stopped and the way people jumped on his leg, it did not look good. What do you have on these last guys? And last guys here, CeeDee Lamb, hopefully might not miss any time. Colston Loveland, probably a minor injury, but keep an eye on James Conner. This one's probably going to end his season.
Yeah, it's tough for James Conner. He's been injury prone before, but he's always been able to tough it out and come back. Trey Benson, obviously. Get all the workload. I don't know yet who's that for the waiver wire stuff. Colston Loveland, yeah, he had 1 catch for 31 yards before going to the locker room. I think it's going to help you, the DJ Moore owners out there, because after that, DJ Moore, I believe, got that touchdown, like a 1 or 3 yard touchdown or something, which probably would have went to the tight end. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens will step up. The way Dallas is playing, I don't know what to think if they should bring CeeDee Lamb back sooner. It's a pretty moderate, probably sprain or ankle issue, whatever they're going to rule it. But if George Pickens can stay online, he'll be good to go.
All right. All right, guys, it's time to get into this week's studs and duds.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Wingman Fantasy Football Studs and Duds.
All right, Bernie, why don't you start us off with some of our studs for week number 3?
Starting off with a stud that's sitting on my Williams with 22 points, 209 yards, 12 rushing yards, and 4 passing touchdowns. You're looking good, Caleb. Get that Ben Johnson offense under your wing and fly away, buddy. Fly away. All right. Geno Smith coming up next at 26.02 points, 289 passing yards, 5 rushing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. That game did not start off well for Geno, but he finished it real strong. Jordan Mason, 23.6 points, 116 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Somebody in this show deserves a pat on the back. And Omarion Hampton, 21.9 points, 129 total yards, 6 receptions.
All right, our next
and 1
block of player
touchdown
on the
for Mr.
stud list
Hampton.
are some receivers who have redeemed themselves potentially here. We got Cortland Sutton at 20.8 points, 118 receiving yards on 6 receptions, and he got himself into the end zone. And Nico Collins had 20.4 points with 104 receiving yards, 8 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And A.J. Brown at 19.9 points. He got himself all this came in the second half as he was shut out in the first half. He finished his day with 109 receiving yards on 6 receptions, and he got himself in the end zone as well. And the Beach Boy, Garrett Wilson, at 19.4 points, 84 receiving yards, 10 catches, and he got himself into the end zone.
All right. Next up, we have a set of running backs here. Mr. James Jimbo Cook, 19.3 points, 118 total yards, 3 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And Christian McCaffrey, everything's fine. My ligaments are fine. My legs are fine. Everything's fine. 19 points for Christian, 140 total yards and 10 receptions. And Kyren Williams, 18.2 points for Kyren, 112 total yards, 2 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And my man, Ken Walker, 17.5 points, 50 receiving yards, 1 reception, and 2 touchdowns.
All right, this guy's been on this stud list every week this season so far. Puka Nacua.
Hakuna Matata.
Once again makes the cut at 17.3 points with 118 total yards and 11 receptions. Now it's time for the kickers. Ryan Fitzgerald. He plays for Carolina, guys. Ryan Fitzgerald, had to look that up for sure. Ryan Fitzgerald had 16.3 points with 3 field goals, 3 extra points, and one of his kicks was over 50 yards. Will Reichert at 15.7 for the Minnesota Vikings with 2 field goals, 6 extra points. One of his field goals was more than 50 yards, and actually it was a 62-yard kick. And Matt Gay, Commanders kicker, at 15.2 points. He had 2 field goals, 5 extra points, and he had 1 kick that was longer than 50 yards as well.
And another kicker on this, Eddie Pinheiro, 13.4 points for Eddie. 3 field goals, 1 point after, and 1 field goal that was 50-plus yards. And now we got a couple of defenses, 3 stud defenses, and one of them is not named Green Bay. Indy defense, 13.25 points. Indy defense, 13.25 points. 4 sacks, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 1 block kick, and 1 fourth down stop. Tampa Bay defense, 12.5 points. 4 sacks, 1 interception, 1 fumble recovery, 1 touchdown, and 2 fourth down stops. And a Philly defense, 12.25 points, 1 sack, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, 2 block kicks. Wait a minute, what? 2 block kicks?
Yeah.
And 1 fourth down stop. These defenses are on fire. They said, hey, watch out, kickers.
Yeah.
We're coming up. We're coming up on the stud list.
All right, guys, here we go. Now it's time for every yin, there's yang. For every stud, there's a dud. Starting off with some quarterbacks who let us down here. Bryce Young, who was a stud last week, came back down to earth, even though his team was dominant today at 11.64 points. They simply did not need the passing game. Jake Browning, oh my gosh, this is dumpster fire incarnate here. He had 9.9 points. Trevor Lawrence, I just think he's not very good. Only had 9.78 points, and Michael Penix Jr. could only get 7.78 points.
Yeah, Michael Penix might be our new roller coaster of the year, buddy. And next up, Marvin Harrison Jr. Ooh, drop. Ooh, he looked at it. He was wide open, and it just hit his hands and fell to the ground. He's having a rough day. 5.9 points. Kyle Stinky Pitts, 5.9 points. Joe Flacco, showing his age a little bit here, 5.68 points. And Nick Chubb, nothing bad to say about Nick Chubb. He made the dud list. I like him. 5.
All right, Tyler Warren, rookie tight end for the Colts, has been a steady contributor, but they didn't need him today. He only had 5.3 points. I'm not sure if I should put this on here or not, Bernie, but we have Blake Corum at 5.3. How can he be a stud and a winner for the start of the week at the same time? It's amazing. But he traverses that line. Zach Ertz at 5.3 points was a dud this week. James Conner wasn't getting a lot of yards, but I think with this close game, he was going to be very important in that second half before that catastrophic injury. He finished the day with 5.2 points.
And next up, we have Josh Downs. Josh was getting a little lonely out there. Everybody was having fun out there except for Josh. 4.4 points. Tucker Craft. Cut back down to earth, Tucker. Didn't we lock you in the dumpster? Yeah, 4.4 points for Tucker there. Cedric Tillman, 4.1 points. Cooper Kupp, 4.1 points. A lot of these guys are on here because their quarterbacks are also on here, but a lot of them are on here because they're just not very good.
All right, we had Chase Brown had a tough go today as a we had the dumpster fire incarnate, Jake Browning. He only had Chase Brown only had 4.0 points. Deebo Samuel only had 3.9 points. A little surprise there on that one. Kayshon Boutte at 3.8, and his teammate Stephon Diggs also had only 3.8 points.
Yeah, a lot of game script stuff going on with this one here too. Keon Coleman, despite a big win, 3.5 points for Keon Coleman. Ooh, Romeo Dubs. I had high aspirations. Good thing he's on my bench. 3.5 points for Romeo. Calvin Ridley, 3.2 points. And RJ Harvey, 3.1 points for RJ.
Jerome Ford had only, I don't know if I have him at 3 points, but I also read that he didn't get a carry, so I don't know if he got that in the passing game or not. I have to double check that. I got Jerome Ford here at 3 points. Najee Harris, we mentioned, left the game early, only had 2.8 points. Jerry the Judge Judy only had 2.2. T. Higgins only had 2 points. And Rashad White, am I reading the wrong thing?
No.
Okay.
1.9 points?
Yep, and Rashad White only had 1.9 points.
Yeah. All right, next up we've got Troy Franklin. What do you call him?
The electrician.
Electrician. 1.8 points for the electrician. Not powering anything with that. Marvin Mims, virtual goose with 0.9. Buffalo defense at, thank you. Buffalo defense at 1 point. San Francisco defense at 1 point. And New England defense at 1 point. Buffalo defense is the only one there that really surprises me because they played Miami. And last but definitely not least, John Parker Romo, the Goose, 0 points.
All right, guys. Now it is time to take a look at our Mecha Studs. Not as many as last week, but we had some guys who went nuclear this week. Most of them are on Bernie's team, as always. So we will check out this week's Mecha Studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, starting off with, man, I should have drafted this guy. I had 2 chances to get him. I had him rated high, and I just wanted a receiver. For some reason, Jonathan Taylor, oh my, 31.3 points at 118 total yards, including 3 catches, and he got into the end zone 3 times. This is not right. I messed this up big time, so let me just... Guys, I hate to say this. I made a mistake. I missed some Mecha Studs when I put this out here. So we're going to start over the Mecha Studs here from the top. Trey Tucker, Las Vegas wide receiver, finished with 36.9 points. What? 149 total yards, 8 receptions, and 3 TDs. We mentioned Jonathan Taylor, but let's mention him again. Jonathan Taylor at 31.3 points, 118 total yards, 3 receptions, and he got in the end zone 3 times. Our only quarterback to make the Mecha Stud list this week was Jalen Hurts, and once again, the Eagles did all their offensive action in the second half. 31.04 points for Jalen Hurts, who had 226 passing yards, 40 rushing yards, 3 passing TDs and 1 rushing TD. And Hunter Henry, tight end out of New England, had 25 points. He got there with 90 receiving yards on 8 catches, and he got in the end zone twice.
Ooh, good job, Hunter. Good job. All right, next up, Minnesota defense. Does defense win championships or matchups? I think they win matchups. 25 points for Minnesota defense, 4 sacks, 2 receptions, 3 fumble recoveries, 2 touchdowns, only allowed 171 total yards, and 1 partridge in a pear tree. Next up, we have Chase McLaughlin with 22.6 points for Chase. Good gosh, 5 field goals made, 2-point afters, and 2 50-plus field goals, 2 50-plus yard field goals. Next up, Jason Myers kicking the ball far, 18.9 points, 3 field goals, 5-point afters, and 1 50-plus yard field goal. And Joshua Carty for the Rams, 17.8 points, 4 field goals, 2-point afters, and 1 50.
I was surprised. We'll get into it in the 2-point conversation, but these kickers on the top of this list here they had good stats. They also had some rough parts of their days as well. We'll get into that in the 2-point conversation. Speaking of which, let's get into this week's 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for 2 here,
He's
Rick?
going for 2.
The Raiders will go for 2 and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Amen. Fantasy Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, guys, the theme for this weekend's actions is kickers and special teams, defenses and blocks, last-second kicks, and the teams that dominated for the majority of the games didn't always win this time around. All right, Bernie, why don't you start us off with the docket of the games we're going over for this week's 2-point conversation.
All right, first let's start off. Let's go back to Thursday night, and the Bills 31, Dolphins 21. Allen reaches 200 touchdown milestone in Thursday night victory. Yeah, this was tough. You want me to do a little recap, or you want to take this one?
No, do a little recap, and then we'll get into this one in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, Buffalo Bills linebacker Terrell Bernard, he intercepts Tua with 3 minutes left to go to secure the 31-21 win over the Miami Dolphins. Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes, including his 200th career touchdown pass, and the go-ahead 15-yarder to Khalil Shakir with 7 minutes left. James Cook scored on a 2-yard run and had 108 rushing yards. He became the first player to top 100 yards against Miami in 36 outings. The Bills are now 3-0. They've now won 14 of 15 meetings over the Dolphins and 7 straight, including playoffs, while Miami fell to 0-3 for the first time since 2019.
Ouch. Yeah, this game was we all assumed that the Buffalo Bills were going to destroy the Dolphins on this one, but the Dolphins came out firing. They took the ball off the kickoff opening kick, and it took them a while, but they did get right into the end zone, and then we saw the Buffalo Bills just go down a lot easier. They were trading points, but it seemed like one team was working really hard to get there, throwing 10 to 12 play drives, while the other team was just going methodic, easy down in 6 plays or less. But nonetheless, they were pretty close here. And then the Dolphins finally got a stop. I think it was the first stop they had the entire year. Was like either late in the first half or in the second half. I forget the exact time. And a tie game, the chance to get the ball back with the tie game, they held the Buffalo Bills to a 4th down punt. And then we had a roughing the kicker by our boy Sealer, the nose tackle there. And that kept the drive going for the Buffalo Bills, where they took that go-ahead touchdown to make it 28-21. And whenever we see Tua have to do a last-minute comeback drive, at least in the last 3 years, like I said, he clams up. I feel like he makes these mistakes on purpose so he doesn't have to deal with it anymore. Once again, throws an interception when they're trying to make that last comeback.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Let's just wrap this up, put it in the history books, and move on to next week's loss.
All right, let's get to Sunday.
Right. Let's get to these 1:00 games here, early games here. Browns 13, Packers 10. Walk-off stunner. Andre Smith kicked a 55-yard field goal as time expired, and the Cleveland Browns rallied from 10-0 deficit with under 4 minutes left to beat the Green Bay Packers 13-10 here. The Browns didn't score until 3 minutes and 38 seconds remained in the game. They managed to tie it up before blocking a potential game-winning field goal attempt by Green Bay. Cleveland used the final 21 seconds after recovering the block kick to move 17 yards and set up, how do you say this guy's name? Smith's game winner. It was an exciting defensive battle, but I was thoroughly surprised at the inefficiency of Green Bay.
Well, we knew going into this game that both these were stud defenses. I even mentioned I didn't think that I wouldn't have played Love, and then I also I was a little nervous about Josh Jacobs, even though he is a stud, and he was bottled up. That this Browns defense is for real, and the Green Bay defense was for real too. They were dominating this game. They had them. I have Green Bay's defense. I was like, oh, we're gonna get 12, 15 points. They had all the metrics, held them under 200 yards, had a shutout going, had a couple sacks. And then all of a sudden, all those things just ticked away at the last minute there. And this was not the only game that a blocked kick towards the end to go for the winning kick here changed the outcome, as Green Bay, with it tied, still had a chance for the win. They went for the game go-ahead kick with about 24 seconds left, give or take. And that's when that block kick came in. And then, like you mentioned, the Browns went down and got their go-ahead kick at the buzzer. There was no passing for the Browns in this game, and no offense for the Green Bay Packers either. But Quinshon Judkins got the only offensive score for the Browns, had nearly 100 yards in rushing, and it's pretty impressive. Not only was he the main offensive weapon in terms of for the Browns, but he was relatively very successful against a defense like the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, he broke off a career-long, short career, obviously, 38-yard run during the Browns scoring drive there, and his first career NFL touchdown to tie the game. So big things happening for Judkins. I'm happy for him, but that offense was struggling, and that, like you said, the passing offense just had nothing going on until the end of that game there. So both defenses played well.
And I was gonna say I have to double check myself, but I thought I read Jerome Ford didn't even get a carry, but I saw him with 3 points, so I don't know if he got something in the passing game there, or I might have got some stats mixed up. But that didn't take long for it to become Judkins' job. So nice drafting by one of our members of our league. Lion Eyes was pretty unnerved when he drafted him. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's not going to play. Came in starting right away, and now he's already paying dividends. Once again, Lion Eyes has a nice rookie that's going to pay dividends for him as the season goes along.
Yeah. That Cleveland defense, you were absolutely right. So great job there. All right, moving on here. Next game we have up is the Colts 41, Titans 20. Jones and Taylor dominate. Jonathan Taylor ran for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns, and the Colts continued their best start since 2009. It was Daniel Jones, has as many victories this season as he had in his last 16 starts over 2 seasons with the Giants. The Colts outgained Tennessee 145-34 and led 17-3 after the first quarter in a game Indy controlled throughout. So Tennessee finally forced the Colts to punt for the first time in the season. I saw Scott Hansen on Red Zone actually stopped everything. Not stopped everything, but like all the games that were in the red zone, they put up a little screen for this game at the bottom just so we could see the punt happening. It's pretty awesome. They did it 9 minutes left in the second quarter, and they were finally forced to punt in week 3. Pretty awesome.
I will say these Colts look super efficient. They're using the running game very well, obviously, but they're mixing it up, man. They're using that play action. And Daniel Jones, he's going for some bombs. He's throwing a lot of nice lasers on these crossing routes, hitting some deep guys as well. He's doing the full repertoire of passing game here. So either the coordinator, the offense, and or Daniel Jones himself are coming together quite nicely, and they're moving the ball. Now they're playing some weaker opponents to start the season off, but they're totally taking advantage of it, dominating, going up and down the field here. I will say that in terms of the Tennessee Titans, Cam Ward, he got sacked quite a bit again. He threw an interception, or was it an interception or fumble? I think interception that was run back for a touchdown. Another one of these defensive touchdowns today.
Yep.
Which set the tone early in terms of trying to come back. And Tennessee can't quite come back. But I will say Cam Ward has a knack for rolling one direction and throwing it all the way across the field. It wasn't quite as intriguing as the one he had that touchdown last week to Io Manor, but he had 3 or 4, again, because they weren't touchdowns. They didn't show up on the highlights, but I was watching this game. He had 3 or 4 where he's rolling left, just stops, turns around to throw it all the way across the field. He'll roll left and throw it to the right. He'll roll right and throw it to the left. He's getting his money's worth on side-to-side passing.
He definitely is, and he didn't have a great start to the game. He played good though. He led the Titans on a 16-play drive for 77 yards, capped by his 8-yard touchdown pass to Io Manor midway through the fourth. So the kid's got promise. It's tough to be on a team that's struggling in multiple facets of the game to really get going. But he definitely shows that he's a gamer.
Indeed. I will say maybe the way he was running around being pressured, I was a little not impressed the way Cam Ward. I didn't think he had a lot of zip on his throws. He was kind of lofting him to his receivers out there, and I think that's why that one pick six was so easy for the defense.
Yeah, more than likely, it's probably one of those things, like you said, he's throwing it across his body, going one way, back the other way, where he knows he needs to get it to a certain place, and he can't get it there on a line. He's got to put a little arc on it. So, all right. Anything else?
No, just
this one. Tyler Warren did great in the show. Probably this is the only time. Had 11 receptions through 2 weeks. So that's pretty awesome for that kid. He's definitely helping Daniel Jones open up that offense. And you were absolutely spot on. Efficiency, and you're supposed to beat these teams, so they're doing the right thing. All right, next game up: Vikings 48. There's a lot of points in these games. Bengals 10. Rodgers makes history, and not the Rodgers you think. The Minnesota Vikings dominated the Cincinnati Bengals 48-10 in a matchup of backup quarterbacks at US Bank Stadium. Isaiah Rodgers made NFL history by becoming the first player ever to record an interception return for a touchdown and a fumble return for a touchdown, and 2 forced fumbles in a single game. The 48-10 final score represented the worst loss in Bengals franchise history. The Vikings defense forced 5 turnovers and completely overwhelmed Cincinnati's struggling offensive line and Jake Doo-Doo Browning.
Yeah, Jake Browning was a mess. I was kind of surprised how many Cincinnati Bengal fans were at the Minnesota. It was in Minnesota, correct? Right?
Yeah.
I was surprised how many Bengals fans were in the crowd, and they just kept showing them on the, because the game was a blowout, so they were just showing a lot of crowd shots. And this one lady reacted the way I've seen myself react before. She's like, "It's just so bad. He's so bad." You could just see her saying, "It's so bad. This is so stupid." It's just. He was just running around and just throwing it in the middle of the field to nobody. He did that last week. He came back and won that game, helped win that game against Jacksonville, but he threw 3 interceptions in that one half a play, if I'm not mistaken. So he's a mess. He's a garbage time guy. He's a full-time garbage time guy. He got benched by the end, but I'm surprised they kept him in as long as they did. I guess that he needs the reps no matter how inefficient they might be. So he got Jamar Chase going a little bit. T. Higgins, actually, I thought would have had a better game. Some of his He I don't want to say dropped. He had some passes dislodged that were in the end zone. So his production by the end was low, but he was targeted in a chance to score a couple different times. So this is going to be garbage time for the Bengals. I was hoping I would assume that Chase Brown would have been more effective when you're chasing points that much. The defense drops back. A lot of times you can do these dump offs in these comeback modes, but Chase Brown didn't get much work here at all. And the Minnesota Vikings had 3 major injuries on defense, and they all came back this week, and they showed up. They looked like the dominating defense we expected them to be from that week 1. Now with Van Ginkel back and a couple other guys, Harrison Smith was back and one other guy, they just showed out, got touchdowns in every kind of variety. You mentioned it, Rodgers. Every time I looked up, there was a fumble. I'm like, did Rodgers punch that out again? He was all over the place. And he's a small guy, and he was just punching everything out. It was pretty fun to watch.
Oh yeah, the peanut punch. He definitely mastered that thing. Let's give a shout out to Jordan Mason though. He showed decisive cuts, forceful running style. He definitely he definitely deserved all his accolades today. He scored his first touchdown as a Viking on a 5-yard run as well. And then Carson Wentz, let's not overlook 14 of 20 passes, 173 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. That's pretty awesome, man. I mean, for what Carson Wentz is and who he is, that's what you need to do. Jake Browning, you should look on the other side. That's what you need to do when you come in to step in for a role here. I don't think anything else on this one.
No, it was just a dominating effort here. You had the defense, and you were racking up points. Not only did they score right away, they just kept pouring it on all day long.
You were saying Harrison Smith and Andrew Van Ginkel back healthy. It's definitely a decisive win on their part. Okay, next game we have the Steelers 21, Patriots 14. Defensive turnovers, steal victory. The Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the New England Patriots 21-14 in a defensive battle at Gillette Stadium. Pittsburgh's defense forced 5 turnovers, the most by a Patriots team since the Steelers last went in New England in 2008. Aaron Rodgers threw the game-winning touchdown pass to Calvin Austin III with just over 2 minutes remaining after TJ Watt recovered a Drake May fumble. The Steelers overcame a 14-point deficit by New England earlier in the game, with Pittsburgh's offense converting the turnovers into 14 crucial points.
This was the second game that we're going through now where the team that was dominating the entire game day did not get the victory. Not only did the Patriots have 5 turnovers, 2 of them were as they were going into the end zone, and they were still tied in this whole game. They were going down those last 2 minutes. They were tied, and they had already given the ball up 4 times up to that point. Ramondre Stevenson fumbled twice, one as he's going across the goal line. I think it was at the end of the first half. Drake May I don't think he got sacked. I think he got pushed as he threw the ball, but his head slammed the back of his head slammed the ground, and he reached for his head right away. I thought they were going to pull him for a concussion test. They did not, and then he threw an interception on the very next play. This reminded me of Josh Allen. Was it last year where we all knew he was concussed? They kept him in the game, and he was like throwing the ball like crazy, weak and out of bounds. I think he had a bunch of like weird either interceptions or just throwing out of bounds. In fairness to May, the guy he saw was open, and it was actually a great play by the defensive guy. It was a toss to the back left corner, and the guy intercepted it was someone who was covering the front slant but retreated to jump up to make the catch. If he would have put some air under that, it would have been an easy touchdown, but he line drived it, and the forward defensive back was able to jump up and snag it. Drake May, I think he's going to be great for fantasy. This is the second time this season where they're not scoring a lot of points, and he still gets almost 25 points just with his baseline of rushing and just the way the game goes. They could have easily had another 8 points with those 2 touchdowns that they fumbled and intercepted going into the end zone there. So that's a nice baseline for a guy who still doesn't do great with high-scoring teams, still breaks 20 points. The Steelers got outplayed for the 3rd straight week, yet they have 2 wins. That first game against the Jets, they were totally outplayed and had a late touchdown. This game, they had a late touchdown. And even then, the Patriots had a chance. They had the ball with those 2 minutes. We're trying to move the ball, but they ran out of time and ran out of space. I guess that's all you need from Aaron Rodgers, not to be the dominating player, but be the guy to handle the game in those crunch time situations. And so far, he's doing well at that. He's not impressing me overall throughout the game, but when it comes down to those last couple drives, he is getting him in, and the Steelers are winning these games.
Yeah. As much as we like to hate on Aaron, we do have to call out one good thing. He is a good quarterback, I guess, and he does have really good stats and does good things. So he passes Brett for 4th place on the NFL's all-time career passing touchdown list with his scoring strike to DK Metcalf there. So congratulations.
So that makes it.
That's all I got for that.
Yeah, there you go. So that means the Patriots fall to 1-2, even though they could easily be 3-0 here. They've lost 2 close games. They won a close game, so it could be 0-3 or 3-0. And the Steelers are now 2-1, and they could easily be 0-3. But we're moving along from here. All right, what's our next game?
Yep. All right, next game up here. Let me cross this one off the list here. All right, no more of that. All right, next up, we've got the Eagles 33, the Rams 26. Davis seals historic comeback. The Philadelphia Eagles completed a remarkable 26-point comeback to defeat the LA Rams 33-26 at Lincoln Field. just blocked a 44-yard field goal attempt with 3 seconds remaining and returned it 61 yards for a touchdown to seal the victory. The Eagles trailed 26-7 in the third quarter before scoring 26 unanswered points. Philadelphia had 2 blocked field goals in the fourth quarter, with Jalen Carter blocking a 36-yard attempt before Davis's game-winning heroics. The comeback captain victory.
Yeah, so this was another game. This is a third one so far where the team that was dominating didn't end up with the victory here. We had the Philadelphia Eagles in that first half were doing what they've been doing, being very boring, very run-centric, and not really going anywhere. And I was pleased the fans were, not pleased. The fans, they're Philadelphia fans, but they were booing their undefeated Super Bowl champion because they really weren't doing anything. They were really infuriating. They just kept doing short runs and they were getting stopped. Kudos to the defense for LA Rams. They were really stuffing the run. Saquon Barkley could not get anything going. Hurts had it seemed like only 4 or 5 pass attempts in that first half. The Rams were dominating, but they could have been up by so much more. They kicked field goals from inside the 10 about 3 different times. They had a touchdown called back with a holding that was a holding in front of the play after the guy was already in the end zone. So they're trading field goals for some touchdowns here. And then in the second half, they finally woke up and said, all right, we got a pass to come back here. And Jalen Hurts finally, oh my gosh, I was getting so frustrated, finally threw the ball to A.J. Brown, and he looked like a freaking beast out there, man. He was doing Mike Evans stuff, throwing guys down, probably going to be called for penalties. He was shoving guys, catching the ball, then stepping on people. It was like a Derrick Henry meets Mike Evans type of play here. Like, he was just dominating, and it's like, all you have to do is throw him the ball. And the announcer was saying, just throw him the ball. He's a big, fast dude. You don't even have to do any schemes for him. Just get him the ball out there. And that's all they were doing. They were just throwing the ball one-on-one, and after he catch it, he was just running through people. Finally got in the end zone for his first touchdown of the year. Honestly, if they would have started throwing earlier, they probably got a bigger day in the passing game, but they turned it on when they needed to. The Philly defense locked down with two block kicks, like you said, including that buzzer kick that would have won the game for the Rams. I kind of think that the Eagles did not deserve to win this game the way they're dominated for more than a half, but they did change their scheme. They did turn it on, finally got some passing going, and you can't trade field goals for touchdowns. And Puka Nacua, what can we say? He was the main man in that second half, just getting catch after catch after catch after catch. He is a running back in the wide receiver position. He's just a man out there, and it was a good game by the end. It was just weird how the momentum switched completely and the style of plays changed.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see that AJ Brown did come alive. What did that have to do with? Did it have to do with that maybe Devontae Adams on the other side was, showing out a little bit? And then I have to do something, Mr. AJ Brown. But really the thing is, Saquon Barkley was not heard of in this game, but AJ Brown was. Is this going to be a back and forth? If Saquon is going to have his big game, AJ is going to just take a little bit of a back seat and vice versa, depending on game script. So I would look at the defenses going forward that they're playing and try to figure who's going to have the support. Both of them.
I agree. This was an epic game, especially at the end. But once again, the Eagles win. So both these teams are 2-0 coming in, and they look like it. The home team took this one at the end. The score wasn't as big as it was because they blocked the final kick, which would have won the game, and then the big man rumbled all the way down the field to make it that whatever it was, 7 or 8 point differential instead of the 1 point, 2 point differential.
Yep. All right, moving on here. We're going to go to this game, which was a nail biter for me, just because I had Tampa Bay in a survivor pool. Buccaneers 29, Jets 27. McLaughlin's fifth field goal wins it all. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers remain undefeated with the 29-27 victory over the Jets at Raymond James Stadium, winning their third straight game decided by late game heroics. Chase McLaughlin kicked his fifth field goal of the game, a 36-yarder with time running out to give Tampa Bay the victory. The Buccaneers have now trailed with less than a minute to play in each of their first 3 games, but remain undefeated thanks to Baker Mayfield's clutch plays. Tampa Bay improved to 3-0 for the first time since 2005, while the Jets fell to 0-3 despite a late comeback attempt.
This one's, I thought was going to be another one that fell into that category of the team that shouldn't have won was going to win, as the Jets were down the entire game. We did have the injury to Mike Evans, but the Jets were down the entire game. Then they scored a couple times late, including they blocked a kick that. So I think the Bucks were up by 6, and they were about the 30-yard line or so. I don't know exactly where they were, but the thought was, it was like 4th and 2 or 4th and 3, close enough. And the announcers were like, should they go for it and try and just run out the clock, or make the field goal and make it a 9-point game and make it a two-score game with under, a minute and a half to go or whatever it was, 2 minutes left. They did the conservative thing and the appropriate thing. They went for that kick to make it a 2-score game. And I forget the defensive player's name. I don't have it. It was number 9, I think.
Will McDonald, the 4th.
Yeah, there you go. Completely jumped over the center, which as long as you don't touch anybody, you can do. Clean jumped, blocked it, picked it up, and ran it back to take the lead in the last couple minutes there of the game. So it went from the Tampa Bay dominating to just having to put one more field goal to close the door, and they couldn't. But Baker Mayfield, we see he is a clutch player at the end. They went right down the field after that, kicking that game-winning field goal. The Jets, they fought, but they were dominated for the entire game. But it was very interesting. Another blocked kick. This is the only team whose blocked kick didn't end up with a loss, as they had one more chance after that.
Yeah, tough break for Mike Evans on this one. Hopefully he'll get back sooner than later, but not too soon. Big shout out to Emeka Egbuka. He made a spectacular one-handed grab for 30 yards over Sauce Gardner. This kid, he's going to be something. Baker likes him. He likes to be there. Everybody's on the same page. It's pretty awesome. So trending up for this, Baker Mayfield, Egbuka, McLaughlin trending down, Taylor, the whole Jets offense, Breece Hall. Tampa Bay's resilience in close games and leadership of Baker Mayfield. That's what it came down to.
Yep. I'm trying to think, was it Minnesota last year, or it might have been, I don't know, last year, 2 years ago, one of those teams that and even Kansas City last year, where they're like 7-0 in one-score games. And that's, if you have a winning record in those games, eventually you're going to have 2 or 3 blowout wins, 2 or 3 blowout losses. It's those one-score games. If you can have a winning record in those games, will end up giving you that, 10 to 12 wins for the season instead of 7 to 9 wins. And they're already 3-0 in such the games in dramatic fashion.
Yeah. All right, next game. Here is a different team that we saw from last week. Commanders 41, Raiders 24. Mariota sparks the ground attack. The Washington Commanders bounce back from their Week 2 loss with a dominant 41-24 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. Made his first NFL starts 2022. Good for him, keeping healthy, filling in for the injured Jaden Daniels. And led a reconfigured offense that rushed for 201 yards. Washington scored touchdowns on plays of 40-plus yards 4 times in this game. Let me say that again. They scored touchdowns on plays of 40-plus yards 4 times in this game. Completely different than last week. The Commanders opened with a 69-yard kickoff return by Debo, which was pretty much all he did. That set up the first score. Las Vegas was outgained 400 to 354 in total yards, despite a strong performance from Mr. Trey Tucker, who caught 3 touchdown passes.
Yeah, I was a little surprised they didn't use Debo more, but they used They used all 3 of those running backs: Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Chris Rodriguez, and Jeremy McNichols, and they all had some level of success. Jeremy McNichols had a nice, I don't know if it was a pass or a run, but like a 60-yard play where he kind of spun through the pile and then all of a sudden broke out to the left to make a nice long run. Krosky-Merritt got in the end zone as well. I don't know what Chris Rodriguez's stats were. They weren't impressive in terms of counting stats, but he was part of the machine that was moving the ball forward as they were going through all 3 of those running backs. I kind of thought they might use Debo more in the running game with the loss of Eckler, but they used the 3 running backs there, and they did most of the work there, and they didn't have to do anything else. Mariota managed the game. He was part of the running attack too. He was the 4th runner. He scored a rushing touchdown as well, and another one where some defensive plays got the score to be really big. And then the Raiders were kind of not essentially garbage time for the whole second half, where I didn't even realize Trey Tucker had that much because I kind of stopped watching the stats there, and he must have had those last couple touchdowns to get it to that 24 points or so.
Yeah, Washington's ability to deploy different offensive personnel and still execute effectively shows the depth and the versatility that they have and the good coaching that they got going on. The first run that I saw Mariota do, it was a scramble. It wasn't designed. He got out of the pocket, he saw space, and he took off. And then the second one that I saw, and I don't know if this is in whatever order there are because I was hopping back and forth, was a designed run. And so I thought maybe this was the game plan all along. This was the game plan no matter who was at uh, quarterback, which is a great thing to have with your backup quarterback. If you could plug your backup quarterback in, everything stays the same. You can run these design runs for him. It's only good things that can happen. So
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy to have a backup quarterback that's similar to your starting quarterback. It's hard with some of these elite rushers, but Mariota is definitely not as athletic as Jaden Daniels, but he's the similar style. He's a running quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah, because if they were just as good, they wouldn't be backup quarterbacks. All right, moving on here. This one hurts my heart, not as much as the Dolphins, but pretty bad. I think we got the defenses flipped on this game.
Yeah.
Panthers 30, Falcons 0, complete defensive domination. The Carolina Panthers dominated the Atlanta Falcons 30-0. And their first shutout since 2020. Bryce Young ran for a touchdown. Smith Wade returned an interception for 11 yards for a score. Ryan Fitzgerald made 3 field goals. The Panthers intercepted Michael Penix twice, forced 3 turnovers, and limited the Falcons to 5 of 16 on the conversion of third down and fourth downs. Young was okay. He played mistake free. He didn't light up the stat sheet, but he didn't turn the ball over. So just like the previous games. So go Bryce Young, I guess.
So in all transparency, I did not watch any of this game. It didn't make my cut here. I didn't know what it was going to be like, but I did see the score. Very surprising. I was surprised because I saw that first touchdown on the highlights and the stats that Bryce Young has a rushing touchdown, but he ended up being a dud. They didn't need him. I don't know if they were just getting short fields and Atlanta was giving the ball back in short fields and they were just taking field goals where they got it and they weren't really moving the ball. Because even Chuba Hubbard didn't have a great day. Rico Dowdle was the one who got in the end zone for the Carolina Panthers. Kirk Cousins made a relief appearance here as the game was well out of hand. Did you watch this game pretty close? What can you say about Kirk Cousins? Just how do you look out there? It's a long time since he's been on the field.
Yeah, I didn't watch the end of this game because it was a blowout.
Right.
I was like, I'm going to do it. So I didn't get to see him physically play. I knew this was coming though. Why not put him in? Penix looked bad. Like I saw a couple of those early interceptions and it was like, oh wow, he didn't even see that defender coming out. It's like they knew what was going on. And I'm not surprised that Carolina's defense played good against them. Because it's a division game, and Carolina really does play good against the Falcons. They play just as hard as New Orleans playing against the Falcons. But it was surprising on how bad the offense was just running, and I don't know why it was running this bad. I don't know if it was just all Penix and he just couldn't get it going, or if something was going on with the play calling. And it was just bad all around, man. I don't know what to say more than just wipe the slate clean and let's start over because they've got so much talent on that team. And Bijan looked good. The play that he could get in the end zone. Everything before the red zone, Bijan looked good. And you're right, Carolina did have short fields on most of these games, most of these drives.
I'm wondering if it's just they're getting enough tape now on Penix and they're starting to know his tendencies and just being able to shut him down a little bit. I don't know. He was very ineffective today.
Yeah, and if that's the case, that's not good. If he's staring down receivers, if they know, like, oh yeah, his tells are very easy. So hopefully we'll get it back. I wouldn't put too much stock in this going forward with future games, though. Let's just see how this plays out. Still going to start Drake London. You're still going to start Bijan Robinson, and go from there.
All right.
All right.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Jaguars 17, Texans 10, a defensive battle in Jacksonville. So Jacksonville defeats Houston 17-10 in a defensive struggle that dropped Houston to 0-3 for the season. Bashal Tutin scored the game's first touchdown on a 2-yard run, and Jacksonville defense forced key turnovers in the second half to secure the victory. The Texans managed only 148 total yards and converted just 4 of 12 third downs in another offensive struggle. Houston has now scored 14 points or fewer in all 3 games this season, ranking last in the NFL in scoring. This is a huge, huge step back from what we saw last year with Houston and CJ Stroud.
Yeah, Jacksonville always has these ugly games, and they contribute to it quite a bit on offense as well. But it seems like they're controlling the. They played some bad quarterbacks here with Browning last week, and is CJ Stroud not? Was he not overhyped? He earned it the way he played that rookie year. But was that a flash in the pan? Because he's looking a little overwhelmed. I mean, not completely overwhelmed, but I see him getting swallowed up in the pocket here. Now, they have an awful offensive line. That will always make a quarterback look bad, especially one that is not super mobile and looking to run around. But yeah, this, like you mentioned, the offense is not playing well. Finally, Nico Collins, though, had a big day, caught a big touchdown, almost had another big catch as he got a little banged up at the end. I'm not sure if he's hurt or not. He was holding his hand, and it was all just late in the game, so I'm not sure if he got back in or not. So hopefully it's not serious there from what I saw. But Travis Etienne got the go-ahead touchdown late in the game. So they were doing Jacksonville was using the running game at least to get their points. But both teams weren't moving the ball very well. Every time I looked down, it was a tie game and low scoring. And then they finally got both teams scored a couple times in those last 6 minutes to go back and forth. And Jacksonville held on this time.
Yeah. So the things that I saw in this game, it was just ugly football, pretty much on both sides. It was Travis Hunter is the only reason that I kept going back to see what this kid can do. He's the guy playing offense and defense. His snaps on both sides have constantly gone up week to week here. And he's developing, a little bit of chemistry going on. So hopefully that'll take off for them. But like you were saying before, Trevor Lawrence just doesn't look good. He just doesn't look like he's in it. So I don't know. This might be a coaching thing that's going on here, where somebody's just not buying into the system or buying into what they're talking about over there in Jacksonville. They got the win, but it was an ugly win, and I think the Texans had more to do with the Jacksonville with the win.
So you're telling me the guy who does the county cry of Duval can't get someone can't get someone fired up to play?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. and we all know that Trevor Lawrence he's not a superstar quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. I mean, he's got a good arm. He's not bad by any means. So we'll see, man. I mean, he's no Danny Jones, but nobody is.
All right, this game was a snooze fest. Let's get to the next one.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good game coming up here. You'll like this one. We got the Chargers 23, the Broncos 20. Herbert's late heroics complete comeback. That's a sentence that nobody has said anytime ever. Justin Herbert found your boy Keenan Allen for a tying touchdown with 2 minutes and 44 seconds remaining, and then led the Los Angeles into position for Cameron Dicker's game-ending 43-yard field goal. Yeah, this was an interesting game to say the least. Herbert was 28 of 47 with 300 yards, and a touchdown and an interception, becoming the youngest NFL player to reach 2,000 career completions at 27 years. 27 years old. Denver led 17-10 in the third quarter, but collapsed in another close game, falling 2-8 in one-score games since the beginning of the 2004 season. The Broncos had it; they just couldn't close it. Justin Herbert is getting better and better, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing at all. He's feeling real comfortable in this offense, I think.
Yeah, this one, in all fairness, I did not watch too much. I was just kind of checking the stats as the game was going along. I was fixated on another game here.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like low scoring, not a lot going on. I did have, just as a way to look at it, I had Justin Herbert on my bench on my fantasy lineup. So I was looking at him and I was seeing that he was staying in that 4 to 6 points for a long time. So it never made me want to kind of turn over. But I will say I don't know if it was because of, but potentially part of the Najee Harris injury here, Amarian Hampton finally had a breakout performance as he was kind of struggling in those first 2 weeks of the year. And that touchdown, the throw, but also the catch by Keenan Allen in that last couple minutes to tie the game, that was a sweet catch. And not a crowd, but it was two guys very tangled up, and he came down with it. And a jumping catch for an older receiver to kind of get up in the air and battle for a contested catch was pretty impressive. And again, Justin Herbert, stat-wise, wasn't lighting up. They were using the running game here, but he's starting to become kind of clutch here as well, with it being more healthy than he's been. We always forget these last few years, he's always been banged up, has a broken rib, or something that makes it where he's not running around. He didn't have as many rushing yards as he's been having, but in these fourth quarters where you just need to kind of move the chains, that ability to just scramble a little bit, either make a play on the pass or scramble to get those 3 or 4 to 6 yards to keep the chains moving is very important. And he's been doing that pretty consistently these first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I 100% agree. So J.K. Dobbins, 19-yard touchdown, a couple explosive plays. He's definitely establishing himself as the clear lead back there in Denver. And then the Chargers defense, man, they really forced some key turnovers when they needed to. So this is a good game. I think, it's always a good thing. 3-0 start, though. I think the Chiefs might have gotten a win on Sunday night. So the Chargers, they're sitting pretty still. And that's always a good thing.
All right.
All right. Moving on here. Seahawks 44, Saints 13. Torrey Horton's historic performance leads the route. Rookie Torrey Horton returned a punt 95 yards for a touchdown, the longest punt return in Seattle's franchise history, and caught one of Sam Darnold's 2 touchdown passes in Seattle's 44-13 rout of the winless New Orleans Saints. Kenneth Walker III ran for 2 touchdowns for the Seahawks, with the first set up by DeAnthony Bell's blocked punt deep in New Orleans territory. Seattle raced out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter and went into halftime up 38-6, making this first time since 2006 that the Seahawks scored 21-plus points in the opening quarter.
Yeah, this one going in, we weren't positive if Jackson Smith and Jigba was going to play, as he came down with an illness overnight on Saturday. And the way these 4 o'clock games stagger, as you're watching some of those late heroic games on 1 o'clock, and you're not sure which games are at 4:05 or 4:25. Sometimes you miss the first couple minutes of a game. You don't switch the games over yet. I wanted to see which game started, and Jackson Smith and Jigba had a touchdown on the first drive. All their touchdowns were like, oh no, I'm thinking of somebody else. But they scored on their first 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns, bam, 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 touchdown, 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 including the punt return you mentioned. Torrey Horton, he's pretty solid. He's I've been watching him early in the season. I kind of forgot Jackson Smith's and Jigba's number, and I thought number 15 was Smith, and he's been on the field quite a bit, making his presence felt there. He's definitely, I think he's ahead of the pecking order over Cooper Kupp. And with games like this, there's no reason to have him go back. They just dominated. I think the New Orleans Saints were keeping some of those teams close that obviously are not very good teams. We'll get to it a little bit later, but the Arizona Cardinals offense is not good. The San Francisco 49ers offense is not good. That's why they were close in these games. They finally played a team with a decent offense, and man, did they get hammered. This game was a blowout before you could even change the channel.
Yeah, for sure. To be up that much by the half, I'm surprised that the starters kept playing in the game the second half. So it's one of those things. Okay, let's move it on. Let's get to an exciting game here. Oh, wait a minute. Bears 31, Cowboys 14. Caleb Williams breaks through in Ben Johnson's first win. Thank you, Ben Johnson. Thank you, Caleb Williams. Caleb tied a career high with 4 touchdown passes, and the Chicago Bears gave Ben Johnson his first win as an NFL head coach, beating the Dallas Cowboys here. This is a big deal, man, a real big deal. Williams completed 10 of 16 passes for 239 yards as Chicago grabbed a 24-14 halftime lead and then never looked back. The Bears got a win they sorely needed coming off a 52-21 blowout loss to Detroit, while Dallas struggled to generate consistent offense against Chicago's defense. Johnson called out his team's practice habits during the week, saying they weren't championship caliber, but had to like what he saw against the Cowboys. I mean, he came out and did it. And I'll just say one thing before you get going on this. I think Caleb Williams, I'm not going to give up on him yet, just because it's Ben Johnson's offense, and it's probably not the easiest thing to just dive in and learn. And that's probably why we see him get happy feet sometimes and try to do too much. But I think as the season goes on, if Ben Johnson makes any adjustments, if Caleb does a little bit more game studying, this is going to end up being a really good relationship. Just don't forget that DJ Moore's on the field. Thanks.
So
bud.
this one, man, those first couple series, Chicago went right down the field. All the touchdowns seemed to be like 35-yard plays or longer. They were just lasers to Odunze caught a touchdown right away on a laser down the left side where he got left wide open, but it was still a impressive throw. The only problem I have with Williams is he can throw those line drives. Sometimes he needs, not that particular play, but sometimes he needs to learn to put a little air underneath them, or a little touch. He's got that Mike Vick style where their line drives, or the thing is rising the whole time. But nonetheless, today it worked out as those gaps were open for him to laser those in there. The Bears are trading touchdowns. They were getting touchdowns while the Cowboys were getting field goals to start with. And then after they traded touchdowns for field goals, then the Cowboys just stopped scoring. And the Bears slowed down quite a bit, but they always had that, because they were up 14-6 right away, because like I said, they traded touchdowns for field goals, and they always kind of kept that 8 to 12 point lead throughout. And eventually the Cowboys started sputtering with turnovers. I believe Dak Prescott had 3 interceptions. A couple of them.
Two interceptions. Yeah.
Okay. So he had a couple interceptions there, and they got stopped near the goal line 1 or 2 times as well. I think they had an interception in the end zone, and they got stopped in a 4th and short inside the towards the goal line. So they had a couple chances to make the game closer. The defense for Chicago stepped up, and they took that 10-point lead and held on to it for the rest of the day.
Yeah. The only bright thing that happened with Dallas is George Pickens. He caught a 2-yard touchdown pass and a successful 2-point conversion, but he had some pretty decent catches and decent plays this game. But Rome Odunze, you're absolutely right, man. That connection is going places here. Rome might end up being the wide receiver 1 on this team, despite DJ Moore being a better player. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Sorry, Dallas. I don't know what happened. They benched Dak. I didn't see why they benched it. Do you know why they benched it?
It was about 5 minutes left. The game was just over. I think they were down by 17 points. So I'm assuming it was just he wasn't playing well, and there wasn't enough time to come back. I don't think it was anything more than that. It was just live to fight another day. No need to put him out there anymore. I mean, he wasn't playing well, so that, I mean, you're in the situation you are because he wasn't playing particularly well. But they also know they're going to need him to have a chance to even improve this team going forward.
Yeah, sure. But doesn't that say something to the rest of your team? Like, hey, yeah, we're just going to call it. The game's not like, there's some teams that were playing this today that were out of it, but they kept playing. They kept like, all right, we'll go down the field and you get the field goal or you get the touchdown. We're not going to win the game, but you're going to score, but they're still going to have to stop you, or they're going to let you score. Like, it's one of those things. It's almost like it's almost demoralizing to the rest of the team.
Yeah.
That $100 million guy. It's like, okay, he's the reason we lost the game. Why does he get to go take a rest? He should be out here, and we should all go take a rest. So, yeah. All right. Last game we got here. 49ers 16, Arizona 15.
This was an.
Panera's
go ahead. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Sorry. Panera's walk-off field goal keeps a perfect season alive. Recently signed kicker Eddie Panera made a 35-yard field goal on the final play to give San Francisco the 16-15 win over Arizona for their 3rd straight win to open the season. San Francisco overcame an injury to Nick Bosa, the absence of their starting quarterback Brock Purdy, the tie-breaking safety allowed the with blah blah blah. I can't read. I'm sorry. The tie-breaking safety allowed with 3 minutes and 15 seconds to play to eke out the win. Mac just took over at his 20 with about a minute 46 to play and completed 5 passes for 59 yards to get the Niners in position for the game-winning kick. The Cardinals had taken the lead with Calais Campbell's forced a holding penalty and in the end zone by Dominic Pooney for the first tie-breaking safety in the fourth quarter in nearly 11 years.
So these teams are not good. They're not good on offense. That was awful to watch. And this was another game where the team that honestly, I don't want to say dominated because they didn't play well. The team who had the more opportunities and didn't take advantage of them was the Cardinals. I thought Kyler Murray threw about 7 or 8 really perfect passes where his receivers dropped the ball in crunch time plays. You mentioned the Marvin Harrison one earlier, wide open, and it was almost like a punt catch, and he dropped it. Zay Jones dropped that last one where they only needed one more first down, and they could have run out the clock as they had that 2-point lead going across the 2-minute warning. Threw a perfect, it got onto his hands, and he just, as he went down, just dropped it. He wasn't the only one. DeMarcado dropped a screen pass out to the right where they would have scored a touchdown. There was at least 4 or 5 plays that the receivers literally dropped wide open passes that hit both their hands, no one around him. Murray's not a perfect player, but I thought he played well for his style of play. He ran to get first downs when he needed to, and he trusted his receivers when he should have, and they just let him down over and over again. We have to ask the question, is Marvin Harrison like a Trevor Lawrence? Is he just not good?
No, I don't think that. I think something is just one of those games. It's just maybe we should give credit to the depth that San Francisco has on defense. It's they held Arizona to 15 points despite missing key players. So I think the offense is one thing to look out for the Cardinals. The drops are a big deal, but I don't think it's something to be overly concerned with unless it happens again next week. Then I would be concerned.
I think both kickers missed field goals in this game throughout. I think Ryland missed one early and Pinheiro missed one. I'm not sure if Pinheiro missed one, but it was just an ugly game. There was a time where San Francisco went down. They had the 2-yard line, and the announcer's like, they should go for it here. I'm like, why? Kick a field goal, take the lead. It was 6-6 at the time. I'm like, neither team is scoring. 3 points is golden right here. And they went for it and got stuffed, and they were tied for the next 10 minutes. I'm like, I don't know why these guys try and do more than they need to. You're shutting down the other team, or they're shutting themselves down. But wasn't going to take a lot of points to win this game, and they put themselves, behind the 8 ball by trying to be cute. I don't know what's happening. Shanahan's losing some luster, in my opinion. I was a big fan of his, but his offenses are not doing much. I know they have a lot of injuries, so I'll give him a pass there. But in the last year and a half, they have been losing some of their luster, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what does that mean? That just means that the defensive coordinators and coaches on the other side of the ball on their opponents have, they're figuring things out. They're seeing what matchups are going. So I wouldn't say he's losing it. Maybe he's just not adapting quick enough, and the defensive minds are adapting a little quicker.
All right. That's all the games, correct?
That is all the games. We have KC and the Giants playing Sunday night, and then Monday night we have Detroit at Baltimore.
All right. The Monday night game is going to be huge and a big-time battle of 2 super talented teams. All right, let's get into some early waiver wire thoughts. We had some injuries, some players get some playing time that we may not have expected or had some good games here. Who are some early waiver wire thoughts that you might come across your brain here today from the quarterback position?
For the quarterback, really, there's not too much going on out there. Do you want Joe Flacco on your team? No. Who else we have out there that is a possible pickup? I don't know. I'm sorry. My brain just went blank.
Well, the only person that catches my attention here is you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. He might be out there. He's not playing great, Aaron, but he's playing okay. We have Tyrod Taylor. I'm not sure if he's going to get the start again or not with the concussion to Justin Fields, but they're playing Miami, and Miami's a very soft defense, so there's always a chance for the Jets to do something against Miami. Those are the only 2 quarterbacks that catch my attention.
Yeah, don't forget Spencer Rattler's out there.
Yeah. I tried to forget.
He's out there.
But yeah.
Yeah, he's out there. So yeah, it's not looking that great. I think most of the teams, most of the players that have been picked up are either playing because their quarterbacks are hurt, starting quarterbacks are already hurt. So nobody fresh or new has rotated back into the waiver wire yet.
All right, moving on to the running backs here. The only one that really stands out here, and he's probably rostered in half the leagues out there, but that injury to James Conner was, like I said, catastrophic. Trey Benson is going to be the main man. He didn't look very good to me. He kind of played soft to me today. Like you see Connor didn't have a great stats, but you see him pounding into the pile, and you see Trey Benson. He runs up to the pile and he's like, I'm just going to stop here. I don't want to run through it. DeMarcado, first action of the year, dropped a big time easy touchdown pass. So you're going to have a split between those two guys now, a passing down back and DeMarcado. Trey Benson's going to be the lead back. Both aren't great, but they're both going to play with the absence of James Conner. And depending on how you saw the Washington game today, all the running backs got some work. So two of them are probably out there between Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichols. Neither got enough work to be a superstar, but they did get enough work to maybe consider as an emergency flex play. Do you have any other running backs that catch your attention as potential waiver wire pickups?
No, I think out of those two, though, McNichols is probably the one that you might want to just stash somewhere. And then what's going on with Kyle Juszczyk? Is he going to be valuable because everybody's just going to be a rotating injury risk? I don't know. There's not too many names out there to talk about. So I think you nailed it there, though.
I do want to mention one thing about Juszczyk, only because he's not a big-time player, so he doesn't make our news a lot, but I did notice that last week he left the game with a concussion, and he made it without missing any time, and he caught a touchdown today. So, again, I don't think he's important for offense, but that's the first player I've noticed so far in this early part of the year that was able to get back on the field after suffering a concussion the week prior.
Yeah. So at wide receiver, though, we got a couple of names that we could definitely zero in on. Trey Tucker, obviously, starting off. He's available. Las Vegas did look like they had some offensive prowess. It took them a minute to get started, though. So Hunter Henry is still out there, and he's obviously developing really good chemistry with Drake May. And then I don't know how I feel about Thornton. I think he's good to maybe have as a stash, but I don't know because that offense is just wacky to me. The KC offense.
Yeah. That's Taquan Thornton, right? As opposed to the one for the Raiders. Yeah, I was considering picking him up when I had the injury to James Conner, but I'm not sure the severity, although it looks like he's done. But then I realized due to our roster constraints here, I have to pick up a running back. And like you said, we're looking through it. There's no running backs to pick up. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. There's no one to pick up in that position. And I need, if I'm going to drop him, I have to pick up a running back. And there's really no one out there to grab.
No, there isn't at the moment. It's tough, and I think that's okay. That's a good thing. I think to have not to have too many things on the waiver wire. Always trying to shuffle your deck. It's good to have the one or two, and then just cross your fingers.
And then the only other person, I mentioned him last time, I got Christian Watson as a potential pickup here. He's still in the IR, won't be ready for week 4, but that's coming around the corner, guys, or until week 5, rather. He has to miss week 4. So don't listen. If you're in our league, don't listen to him because I'm trying to find a way to get him. But like I said, I need to shuffle some chairs around here. But Christian Watson is going to be a sneaky pickup with the injuries to Jaden Reed there. There's a lot of receivers to fight through there, but I think he might be featured when he comes back. Other than that, other defenses that catch my attention, we've got the Rams up against the Indianapolis Colts next week. Colts are really good on offense, but the Rams are also good on defense. They had a decent game today against the Philadelphia Eagles, who we all consider to be one of the best teams in the league. So there's a chance there that there might be one of these games where Daniel Jones has a New York Giant style game where he just kind of loses it. I don't know if that's going to happen ever, but that's just out there. And Cleveland, they're playing Detroit. Detroit's awesome. Again, this is not a great week for streaming defenses, but we see Cleveland is awesome on defense, especially at least in controlling the pace of play, maybe not getting turnovers and stuff, but they're going to keep it a lower scoring game. Just some teams that catch my attention, but no one really to break the bank for.
Yeah, no, nobody yet, but definitely circle that Cleveland thing and see what happens there.
All right, guys. Thanks for sticking along with us for this week's 2-point conversation. We had a lot of action to go through, some upsets, some crazy comebacks, and blocked kicks at the end of games that decided the outcome here. So with that being said, guys, I want to thank you all so very much for joining us for another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. Go ahead. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. Just search Wingman the League, and we'll come to the top of your search. Hey, while you're there, give us a 5-star rating and leave a comment. And if you want to see these beautiful faces, our graphics, and all of our stuttering moves and faces, you can go ahead and see us at our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you head over there, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave us a comment so we can get you into our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty,
and your Monday night game more exciting than your Sunday night game.
Not too exciting, kickers. All right, we'll see you next time.